Make sure I did. I hit record. Yeah, we are recording. What's up, yo? My name's Ian Edwards, and welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. And we got to talk about England versus Germany, 3-3. This weekend coming up, the Premier League is back, and there's Man City versus the real Manchester club, Manchester United. There's a North London derby, right? And and we'll talk a little bit about International Week and just all of that. And coming up, well, who we have on the show? We have Neil Chakravarty, stand-up comic, Chelsea fan. And what up, Neil?
I'm good.
Good. And
Can't
we got
wait
Lee.
for club football.
Go ahead. Can't wait for football.
Club football, the real football. Yeah.
Club football, real football. Hilarious. And we got Lee Hudson, stand-up comic out of England, Southampton fan. What's up, Lee?
Hey, I'm good. Like Neil said, waiting for the start of club football again. International break's okay, but club football's that's what we're all here for, isn't it?
Right. I spotted some Southampton players out there in the international week. So
yeah, we got some. They like to take their poor form into their national team's fixtures.
Hilarious. So today's Monday. The big game of the day was England versus Germany. There was a lot of pressure on Southgate's boys, and there was also probably some pressure on Hansi Flick and Germany. They're in the same group, and I don't know. Should we talk about the game first or everything before the game? Because before the game, because of the results, the few days before, I guess on the weekend, people were like, "Fire Southgate!" And I heard there's this online petition before the game today to make Harry Redknapp the national team coach, or Poch, right? So before today's game, Lee, you're in England. Tell us what the vibe was so that we can assess the vibe after the game today.
Just a bunch of negativity, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the game obviously against Italy the other night, the 1-0 loss was pretty dire, pretty uninspiring to watch. It wasn't really a lot happening, and you know what it's like in this country where the reactions are always extreme. There's never any rationality or anything in the middle. If England put some wins together, then it's coming home, and everyone's partying in the fucking streets. Like I remember when we beat.
So you say the fans are bipolar?
A little bit, yeah. Like it's either spiking too high or dipping too low. It's I remember when I was out in London when we beat Ukraine 4-0 in the Euros, and I think that was like either the round of 16 or the quarterfinals, and people were in the streets like we'd won the whole tournament. It's like, no, there's still games to go. There's good teams we're going to have to face. This might not come home. So that's what it's like. And then if England have a few games where they lose, like obviously the form in the Nations League has been poor. Like obviously getting trounced by Hungary isn't a good look. And there were some pretty other uninspiring games. Like when we played Germany, we sort of got rescued by a Harry Kane penalty in that one when we played them last time. And then that loss to Italy was just a bit, like I say, a bit uninspiring, a bit pedestrian. So people have been getting on Southgate's back, the magic's worn off, this and that. But with national team managers, I mean, I know this is a league of sorts, but I think we were talking in the chat, weren't we? It's glorified friendlies. So really, international managers, they live or die by the big tournaments. That's where you've got to judge them. So, Southgate's, whatever happens in his future, I think will be decided by what happens in the World Cup, not by what happens in the Nations League.
Right. It's funny to see the cries to fire Southgate from a tournament that's really just a bunch of friendlies given a name, and everybody's like just going overboard. And it's like I didn't expect the voice of reason to be Graham Souness. I didn't expect as a Manchester United fan to agree with a Liverpool legend about like, hey, he's like, hey man, in Scotland, we're just laughing at the way you're acting at these results. It's like this doesn't mean anything. I'm an ex-player, and these are just glorified friendlies, and there's no way, he said, I was a professional player and a manager. There's no way your team gives 100% in these games. Even if you drop off like 2%, it's enough to lose by a 1-0 margin. So it's like, I would just ignore these results, but everybody, is like, nah, fire him. But it just shows how people feel about him regardless. Like, and
Yeah.
this is why I think Southgate is kind of underrated as a manager, because before the game today, he did a press conference. I don't know if it was yesterday, probably was yesterday, where he just 8-miled the media, where he said, hey, I know there's cries out there for me to be fired. I know, but you should support the team. This is, if whether we do good in the tournament or not, whatever happens to me is different from the team. And I know I have a new contract, but this is football. Contracts mean nothing. So I know that. So I could lose this job. So I know we have to deliver. But it just, every question that the media would ask, he just answered it before they asked it. And just showed how aware he is of what's going on. And it's like, and he put everything on himself and took it off the players. And I knew they was going to get a performance out of the players today, but then when it looked like they weren't going to give one, when they went down 2-0, you see that the players will play for him. And they came back, took the lead, and then Pope was just too giving, and we blew the end of the game. But I also blame but I feel like Neil wants to say something. So before I even get into the game, that's my
Can I just say one more thing though?
Southgate speech. Go ahead.
My one thing is, if anyone who is saying that Southgate should be sacked and replaced with Harry Redknapp, they need to be checked into a facility, because there is something wrong with their brain. That is insanity.
Well, there's a list of those names on a petition, so we could go down a petition and like go to find out where they live and go to check them into the facility that's near their houses, because maybe their addresses. But there's
those people
list.
need to be sectioned. There's something wrong with them.
All right, what you got, Neil? On pregame.
I was gonna say, I mean, like if the alternative Southgate is Harry Redknapp, then you're really not doing anything about the problem. So, but I mean, my point is like, my issue with Southgate is like there's a history of repeating repeating mistakes over and over and over again. And if I get it, like, what Sir Sinis's point is that these are pretty much glorified friendlies. But I also feel like this is a World Cup year. You don't get a whole lot of time as either national team manager or as a national team player. It's not like everybody in the team is Harry Kane, who knows for sure that their spot is in the World Cup 11 is absolutely
and Maguire
cemented. And Maguire, surprisingly, yeah. So everybody else, pretty much, why wouldn't you take every game absolutely seriously? Because this is your chance. You don't know where you're going to be in 4 years. This is your chance to play for the World Cup, in the World Cup for your country, which we are led to believe every football player thinks is the pinnacle of their footballing career. So why wouldn't you take it absolutely seriously? And you saw it today. I mean, those players were taking it seriously, right? Like that second half doesn't happen if people are just having minutes go by. And same from the manager's point of view, the management's point of view, that I mean, imagine if these games didn't happen. Imagine if there was no international break, and after the summer, teams went absolutely cold into a World Cup. Imagine the level of criticism people would have had to say about how the World Cup is not being treated seriously because teams are not being given an opportunity to prepare for it. So when you are given an opportunity to prepare for it, it should be taken seriously. So I don't completely buy Sunus's point that how it was back in his day is exactly the same as how it is right now. I just feel.
Well, he didn't say that.
I mean, he says that there's a drop off, right? Like players don't absolutely put 100%. I find that tough to believe, knowing what's at stake and knowing the kind of pressure you're gonna get, right? If fans are taking it seriously, clearly, they're starting petitions when everybody knows there's petitions never get anywhere. So the media is taking it seriously. Aren't those the things that kind of push the narrative around, when you're talking about seriousness in seriousness in football? So, and also the fact that he kind of like keeps making these choices, which, I mean, for example, Tomori can't get a game for England. He's
he got sent home from
not,
this squad, didn't he? They cut some players from the squad, and he was one of them.
I thought Ben White got sent home, and Tomori stayed and never got a minute. But I might be wrong.
He wasn't in the match day squad today. He wasn't on the bench. Yeah.
So let me yes and no what Neil said, right? So before we get into the game, you guys are talking about squad members. And so I feel like these are glorified friendlies. But if you're Southgate, right, if it's a glorified friendly, treat it like a friendly so that if you do lose, like at least everybody knows you approached it like a friendly. So you some of those players that you said that got sent home, they should play. You know what I mean? And here's a problem. Like you if you're a coach, you're stuck in a rock and a hard place. So you have this tournament, this fake tournament that you're in, that you need to get results from, but you also need to test out new players, and you also need to keep a certain amount of the spine of your team in tune with each other. So you have to do three things in one thing. Now, I only think sometimes he did one thing and a piece of another thing instead of three things. Sometimes like he let Harry Kane play, who doesn't get any playing time. He let Shaw play, who came through for him today. But he should have so my only criticism is he let Kane. I feel like England plays a lot like Spurs, three at the back. Kane drops back and tries to flick the ball on to whoever's playing up front with him, like it's Son or Kulusevski. And so the team has a Spurs vibe. So he's comfortable, in England and in Spurs. Like the team is kind of centered around him. He's the captain, and that's how they play. And, but I feel like, what if Kane gets injured, right? Like from now to the World Cup, you should have played Ivan Toney a little bit. So that if his first game, and you should have played Tammy a little bit, so that if their first games with England are not in the World Cup, right? Like you should let them get on the field with the team that they're going to be on the bench and that they might be called up in an emergency to do something. So that's where I feel like, yeah, the result was good today. You lost to Italy, so you might as well, in hindsight, not even in hindsight, you should play those guys. And Kane has been playing for Spurs the whole goddamn season. Give him a rest. Really try some guys out. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you don't have a backup to Kane. Every backup for Kane is injured. So then now these are the new backups. They don't have as much experience as you'd like to. So play them in this preseason thing. And then, so if anybody has a rebuttal to that, go ahead. And then there's something else I want to bring up.
One thing I'd say is interesting is I think, because I mean, Southgate made 2 subs in the Italy game. 2 subs, that was it. Mm-hmm. Like you say, he's not learning anything from these games, I don't think. And
right.
I'm saying he either fundamentally disrespects Serie A, or he's racist. That's the only reason I can think why Tomori and Tammy haven't been getting
Why
games.
can't he be both? Why can't he be both?
He could be both. But like, because I mean, Tammy's been scoring consistently in a tough league, in a league that's notoriously, you know, tough to score in, with good defenders, and he's been absolutely tearing it up out there. Tomori won Serie A. He's a champion in a top league, playing for a top club. He's learned a new language. He's maturing as a guy. And we've still got Harry Kane just tripping people up in the penalty box, looking like just a lump. Maguire, yeah. Like, it's, I don't know why Tomori can't get any minutes. It's just, it's like he definitely.
How can he not get minutes in the three?
Yeah,
like, it's not just he's behind one centre back.
Yeah.
He's behind three, and then I think Kyle Walker came on, so he's actually behind four.
It's probably
would have played Connor Cody before he played Tomori. That's
well, he did.
problem.
Cody was on the bench today. Tomori went home. And
so that's the pecking order.
I find that crazy. Like he gets, that's one thing he does get accused of, is having favourites, and I don't think that can be disputed. But centre back is probably our weakest position on the field.
Well, one of our centre backs is one of the weakest position on the field, not the centre back position itself. Yeah,
it's just nuts, and I think it was crazy to give Nick Pope 290 minutes in a row. Take a fucking look at Ramsdale. The guy's been playing really well. His distribution is way better than Pope. So I think, you know, in terms, if Pickford is his number one when he's fit, that's fair enough. And Ramsdale is closer to Pickford's style of goalkeeping than Pope is. Because Pickford's sort of an agile shot stopper who can distribute well. Ramsdale is that, but I think Ramsdale's got a bit more presence about him than Pickford. I think Ramsdale for me is the best keeper we have right now.
I'm with you.
And yeah, to give Pope 290 minutes and not even give Ramsdale a half, like, I find that a bit weird, because he wasn't great tonight at all. Neil touched on it, distribution was poor, the goal for the equaliser. I mean, a win would have done wonders for the confidence. Coming from 2-0 down against Germany to win 3-2 would have been amazing. Like, it's still a good performance, but I mean, that goal was basics. I don't know if we want to start getting into the game, but that goal was basics at the end.
I mean, I guess we can get into the game. I know Neil wants to say something about that goal. The funny thing about that goal is there was a goal scoring opportunity like that in a France. What game's that? France versus Denmark, I think, where same shot, goalkeeper did not, pushed it in the same area that Pope did, but it's just that French player cleared it. So it's like, yeah, I know you're an ex-goalkeeper and it looked easy to hold, but then again, the French goalkeeper was Areola. So maybe Courtois would have held that, you know. So
where's Areola these days? Is he the West Ham backup goalkeeper or something?
Kind of, he's in and out. They're trying to figure that out. They're working on it. Yeah, it's a work product. But I think Neil had something. I guess we can go into the game. What's your guys' thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think the only thing I was going to say is that, you know, the things you guys mentioned, basically Southgate, the choices he made does not look like somebody who is taking these games lightly. He is absolutely serious about these games. I think the problems that we're seeing.
But isn't that what you wanted?
Yeah. So I'm not. So my point is, like, I don't think the problems that we're seeing are down to people not taking things seriously. I think it's down to actual problems that are gonna repeat at the World Cup too. So that's more of a concern for me. But obviously, if the FA doesn't have a plan, you'd rather go with Southgate and stick by him. If the alternative is somebody like Harry Redknapp, or even even Pochettino, who doesn't have a great cup record. So, but yeah, I mean, the game again. I actually think even before the madness of the second half, England played far better than they did in any of the previous games. We were having a very good game, and Sterling could have scored. There was a great save by Ter Stegen, but I think Sterling was probably the best player on the pitch in the first half.
And you're not saying that
But-
because he's a Chelsea player.
No, but
You
but
would have
actually,
said that if he'd have stayed at Man City.
yeah, but the problem with Sterling is, which is why I always find it difficult to put him in like a England best 11, is
Mhm.
his shooting technique is always gives chances to the keeper. Like he doesn't have that, absolute power shot in him. He's always trying to like kind of like finesse it. So if he gets it absolutely in the corner, it's great. But otherwise,
Mhm.
the speed of the shot, the power behind the shot isn't, it gives chances to keepers. And he missed that on that shot. And there was another shot where he pretty much hit it straight at the Stegen. So and in a team that doesn't create a whole lot, you don't really have that luxury. So but he was lively otherwise. Like a lot of the great good play in that first half was happening through him. Um, and generally, I think the team played really well. Lucia and Sterling on that side were creating a lot of havoc. Bellingham, Rice, that partnership seemed to have really worked. I think today was the first game Bellingham really showed what he can do in an England shirt.
Say that again. That mumbled for me.
I felt like today was the first game Bellingham really showed what he can do in an England shirt. He's got the pace, got the power, the physicality with which he had that presence, and you could see that Rice really was enjoying playing with him. There were a lot of moments where they were both covering the midfield and pretty much pressing the ball in a combination and suffocating the German midfield. So those are good signs, and the thing with this team is it doesn't, and it shows in their record, right? Like they don't have a lot of goal scorers on the pitch, and so therefore opposition defenses kind of crowd Harry Kane out. And I think second half, once the goals went in, Saka, I think, changed the game. He was really good when he came on. He's making things happen, because the same thing that was happening on left hand side with Shaw and Sterling. Shaw and Sterling initially wasn't really happening on the right hand side. So when Saka came on, Reece and Saka, that partnership really started working after that. They were like laying the ball off, Reece going in, Saka going out, Saka coming in, Reece going out. So I mean, the team really did play well today. The scoreline, the thing about friendlies is, I agree completely, the scoreline shouldn't matter, but the nature of play, it was far more positive today from England.
You know who I missed today? Rashford. Like you were saying, how the speed or the power of Sterling's shot, but
Rashford
the thing that he has that, but also there was some some Son Kane situations where Kane let Sterling in and the defender caught him. He lacked pace. Where if that was Rashford, it's over. Like Rashford's going to get to that ball, the defender's never going to catch him, and it's 1-on-1 as opposed to a 2-on-1. Like Sterling versus the defender and the goalkeeper, it would have just been, it's me and you, goalkeeper. And that's a situation that's more in favor of the goal scorer. So I think we lack that today. So maybe they'll bring those guys back, depending on how the rest of the Premier League season goes, leading into the World Cup. But Lee, what did you have to say about the game?
A few things. I agree with Neil on certain things, like the Shaw Sterling combination looked dangerous. Luke Shaw, I thought, had a really good game considering he's been out the United team recently. That pass he played sort of around the back of the defence for that Sterling. It was Sterling, wasn't it, on the end of that? That was the vision, and the execution on that was absolutely precise. And obviously he got in the right position, attacking the back post to score his goal. As well, the finishing wasn't that convincing, but I mean, it went in, so that's all that matters, really. So I thought he had a good game, and Saka, when he came on, was used correctly this time, because in midweek against Italy, Saka was
Oh
playing
yeah,
left wing back in the
right,
position where Shaw was, and that's not, he can play there, but it's not his, you're not going to get the best out of him there.
right.
He's not as good going on the outside from a deeper position. He's better off higher up the pitch, playing inverted on the right side, coming in on his left, and doing
On
what he
that
did
game,
today.
in that game against Italy, I feel like Southgate been talking to Graham Potter. It's like it's the same way Graham Potter configured Chelsea in the first game, like with putting these players out of position and win backs. It's like
Yeah.
that they're not used to fully. It's like
Mm.
that. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it just didn't look right in that game. Like, I like Saka. I think Saka's a phenomenal player, but you got to use him right. And putting him there wasn't using him right. Whereas today, when he came on, that inside right position, like you can see what you can do there. He makes things happen. He gets on the ball. He runs at people. So that was good to see. Again, like Neil said, the Bellingham Rice combination looks like a real strong centre midfield combination. Unless we start playing with 3 in the centre mid, then I think that's probably the pairing that's the strongest for us, because I think it gives us the most balance. You can't really go Rice and Henderson, because I think that's too negative. The same with Phillips and Rice. If Phillips gets fit, I think at times it could be too against some of the stronger teams maybe, but I like having Bellingham and Rice in there, because obviously Rice is the ball winner and can still play as well, whereas Bellingham just brings the class. Like, the guy is just technically so smooth in what he does. Everything he does has quality to it. You see the way he passes the ball, the way he moves on the ball. Yeah, he's so good. But as like I say, the weak links were at the back, and we need to cut that out. And
Well, who
even
are they? Like, who might you be suggesting?
I don't know. It's but I mean, the penalty was just sheer fucking clumsiness. Like, that was everything people accuse Maguire of being. Just like he was kicking for a ball that had gone past him 2 minutes ago, just swinging that leg out there. It was just so slow. But the other thing that worried me a little bit was, and this isn't necessarily down to the centre backs, or maybe it is, but the Havertz goal, everyone was recovering. The first Havertz goal, sorry, everyone was recovering towards goal and just backed off, and he found too much space on the edge of the box. I don't know if that, with 3 centre backs, probably one of them needs to be going out to him, because they aren't all occupied with players, or a centre midfielder needs to be tracking him. But I think because where he was playing, that was probably a centre back that should have been out there. And the same with Gnabry's shot for the equaliser for 3-3. Again, he cut inside, and it's like, what he's doing there. Like, people again just backing off, letting him get the shot away. So the fact that those shots were coming in too easy from that area of the field was a little bit concerning. But overall, I would say more positives than negatives for the team. Which,
That's funny, because you haven't mentioned much of the positives. You did
I
say
did. I
Reece
spoke a bunch
and
about the
Declan.
positives.
I mean, you Bellingham and Declan, but this.
I said
I'm
Shaw.
just messing with you.
I said Shaw. I said Saka.
Yeah, you did. You did.
But if you have mainly positives and only a couple of negatives, today showed that the couple of negatives can cost you the result.
Yeah.
Which is it's not the most ideal situation to have those sort of things happening. But I mean, that's for Southgate to figure out, because that's what's going to decide his fate in Qatar, whether or not he can he can eliminate those sort of mistakes from happening in the team. But
I mean, this is a good England performance, and they didn't win. So
I think for a final game before the World Cup, because it's weird, because there's no like pre-World Cup camp or anything. It's just the Premier League stops, you go to the World Cup, which isn't normally how it happens. So for this to be the last game, I think it's a solid enough performance to go into a tournament with.
Yeah, I think everybody, like, fan-wise, is who was like on the edge. Like, this calmed them down a little bit and gave them more optimistic a view. So my thoughts on the game was, the first thing is something from Southgate's speech about we need the positivity of the crowd. Fans in England, you cannot, I mean, I get it. You worry, but you can't let your fear of losing not let you root for your team every chance you get to. And an example, everybody loves home court advantage, like in a lot of sports, but mostly in football, man. Like when you're rooting for your team, you could beat anybody, And so the English team does need that energy. Like Man United lost to Brighton, and we lost to Brentford 4-0. And then the next game was Liverpool, but we were at home. And what we know when you're looking for like a momentum changer in your whole season, you know what that momentum changer was? It was a tackle by Lisandro Martinez a few seconds into the game, and the crowd jumping on board that tackle and lifting that team to a level that Liverpool could not handle. And now we're back. You know what I mean? So fans, I know
Maguire tried that same tackle, gave away a penalty.
So what? We're gonna get to
tried
Maguire.
that same tackle. He gave away a penalty.
Don't
Don't give him ideas, Ian.
No.
He's like, this is gonna get the crowd on my back.
Not him. The fans. That's for the fans. Like the fans have to play their part too. Just the way the players can play bad. Sometimes fans could be bad, and then when they're bad, there's no coach to tell them, "Hey, man, this is what you need to do to help your team." So that's my coaching of the fans. I get it. You're worried, but let's do our job. That's number one. Number two, I'm glad you brought up the Maguire thing. Here's my thought on that. Maguire, bad pass. You panicked. Your job is like, the reason why they play is because you're good at playing the ball out the back. So now you pass the ball, number one, to a traitor who is born in England that plays for Germany. So number one, that's a huge mistake. But number two, I question whether that is a penalty. And this is why the ref did not blow the whistle right away. And when he looked at the VAR and he came back, even though he gave the penalty, he did not give Maguire a card. That's how, I know there's an agenda against Maguire, but
I think the ref just felt bad for him.
If he felt bad for him, he shouldn't have gave it a penalty. Yeah, there was the most minimal. That was like hokey pokey. He put his foot in. Sorry. Maguire put his foot in, realized he wasn't going to get, and pulled it back out. And Musiala, felt the graze and dived. So I question, honestly, whether that's a penalty. And I'd be happy to be shit on Maguire, because he still should get shit for making the bad pass. So, he put himself in that trouble, in that situation. The difference in penalties is as soon as the ref saw the England penalty, he gave the German player a yellow card, which could have been a red card, which would have just won us the game at the end. Now, on the Harry Kane penalty, that goalkeeper is tough to beat. But I got to give Harry Kane props for the way he took that penalty. The way he took the penalty is only two things going to happen. He's going to miss, or he's going to score. It's going to be unsavable. And sometimes there's a moment comes in your career when you have to take that type of penalty to risk missing to only guarantee a goal. And top left-hand corner is a risky penalty. It could go wide and high. And so I got to give him props for that penalty. I was talking to Lloyd after the game. He's like, you could tell he practices the way he took that penalty. And just the game overall, I think England played better than Germany. Germany had their spells early in the second half where they came at us, but they didn't get, and then they got those goals. And I just think there's so much irony in Havertz scoring 2 goals in England, where that's where he plays and he can't even do that. And
I think that's why people, like Lee was saying, I think that's why all the defenders backed up. Nobody expected him to get anywhere near the goal from there.
You see him play every week. He can't even score from in front of the goal. How is he going to score from way out there? So I get that. And also hooking up with his ex-Chelsea mate for his first goal. And they did something in German colors that they couldn't do for Chelsea, to the point that Werner is back in Germany. But
speaking of Chelsea,
overall,
I forgot to mention how good that Mount finish was.
Yes.
For his goal, just snapshot, took it early. Keeper couldn't even set himself. I didn't expect when that ball was played in. I thought he was going to take a touch and try and work an angle, but great finish.
Yeah, great finish. I did expect a touch, and it's smart of him to just instant rice that shit. Just don't even touch it. And then the pace thing I was talking about earlier with why we missed Rashford. If you don't use Rashford, then put Saka in, because Saka got to that. We could have won the game in the dying seconds of the game when Saka had that opportunity. It's just his pace was on point, but his first touch was not great. And that's what, ultimately still took a good shot, didn't get a full power on it, still placed in a good area. But yeah, like overall, I think this calms everybody down, this result going into the tournament. And we'll see what happens from here. I think anybody had something else to say about it?
Just shout out to Southampton defender Armel Bella-Kotchap, clean sheet against England when he was on the field. Came on for Havertz in the 90th minute, but clean sheet's a clean sheet. So that was his debut. That was his debut as well. So
so hopefully he can bring that clean sheet form back to Southampton this weekend.
Well, we need him to. So but no, not much else. I'm sure Neil enjoyed Mount and Werner hugging at the end as well.
Yeah. It was that Mount finish, actually. He scored a similar goal versus Madrid in the Champions League this past season. And I always feel like, I know he's been used in the front three a lot, but I always feel like his best position is in that slightly attacking midfield. Obviously, that can only work if we play a midfield three. But like those kind of late runs and taking advantage of the spaces in behind, I think that's where he should be playing in an ideal world, even though managers keep using him in the front three. But yeah, maybe if they move through a midfield three, I think a midfield three of Rice, Mount, and Bellingham would looks tasty.
Yeah, and I also, just one thing, I did love that you're not supposed to want players to get injured or old, but the fact that Henderson has been getting injured and is old, forced Southgate to use Bellingham and Rice together in 2 matches, which pretty much guarantees this is the midfield. This is the pivot that they're going to take into the World Cup. And today's result, I'm happy about today's result, because you need a result for him to be able to fight the critics and use this midfield. That's what everybody wants anyway. He's the one that had to realize this. So he needed a result of some positive data to confirm. Like, take Henderson off the bench, if you want, and bring in Phillips if he's injured off the bench. If we're winning the game and you want to lock it down some more, then you bring those guys in, But this should be, like you guys were saying, this should be the two that start the game for us, because it gives us an opportunity creatively and defensively. We gain more with both of them, 1 + 1 = 3 with these guys. But the other guys is just adds up to 2,
Although Bellingham's young as well, he's got the mentality for the big games. Like you saw him for Dortmund against City the other week in the Champions League. Like he turns up in the big games. He's not like this young kid who goes hiding and only turns up against when we play San Marino or someone. He's he's there in the big games. He wants the ball as well. He's brave. Brave in terms of in possession. Like he wants to get on the ball. He wants to do things. So yeah, hopefully that continues. And also, completely changing topic, the red England kit looks pretty cool with the blue badge as well. I hate the home shirt for the World Cup. The home shirt looks like a training. The home shirt looks like a training shirt.
The white one.
It looks shit.
I love that. I was
thinking
about buying
the sleeves.
I was thinking about buying, but I also like this one too. I was like, okay,
the red one's fire. Yeah.
The red one looks awesome, but I like the trim. I like the trim on the collar as well.
It's kind of red.
The one today.
Yeah, reddish pink. It's almost got like a pinkish sort of hue to it, but but no, I really like that. But yeah, the white one I thought was too boring. Like I say, it looks like a training shirt.
Yeah, it looks like this round neck, like the what
Yeah.
like kind of like a round neck with this patch here. Yeah.
It looked like a woman's shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what but I kind of like it still.
One thing I'll say about so Harry Maguire, I don't think I've ever seen a player that has that level of consistency in terms of like making mistakes. Like you find like the odd bad player here
You
and
never
there,
seen me play.
and
You never seen me play, bro.
yeah, good thing you're not a professional footballer.
I mean, I think that's exactly
Unfortunately
why
for
I'm not a
Maguire, he
professional.
is. Like it's
Not
just
just unfortunate
remarkable
for
how
him.
I don't even know. Like it's probably not even a confidence thing anymore. Because how can he have just bad confidence season over season? Like that's probably just who he is as a defender. So I don't know. Like you're literally going into a games with 10 men if you keep starting him. So
Well,
You could kind of see his face after he gave away the penalty. You could see the look on his face that sort of said, "Oh shit, I can't go on social media tomorrow."
yeah.
the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And also, I
So-
find like in terms of the match day squad, I really feel it's a mistake to leave Trent out. I know he's probably
100%.
like
100%.
I don't think he should be a starter, but you'll not find a better unlocker of game situations when you're in that tight spot than Trent. So in terms of like that, I think Trent and Grealish, another guy who can create something out of nothing, they should be on the bench. They also offer
Right.
something different from the typical starting 11 you're likely going to go with.
Mhm. I mean, but the media has done a good job of like damaging them. It's like only media can damage someone that's had a great career and make them look like I wish the media would damage Maguire as much as they damage a winner like Trent Arnold. Like it's so crazy. Like, what is the difference in media coverage of Trent Arnold compared to Harry Maguire? Harry Maguire earns a lot of that, and Trent Arnold doesn't, and has actually won, and has been like the point of winning in some huge ass matches, and like it's probably the same amount of bashing, because some people have made a point and they want to make sure that point, and they've repeated a point, and they want to make sure that people heard them make that point, so they score the point of like, I was right about this one thing, to the point sometimes it's just a little overboard. Like, hey man, the system he's in, he's told to do the play like that, and there are risks. All right. And Liverpool has won. They came second last year, 1 point behind. Like, where was Harry Maguire or anybody else who's supposedly a solid defender? They were in 4 finals, bro. How come, I'm not gonna even get into it, but you're right. He should have been in that shit. I wanted to ask you, so here's a journalism football thing. So I maybe I'm just explaining how to drink water, like, and I don't have to explain this shit. So Mark Ogden puts this article out about Harry Maguire, and then sources close to Harry Maguire says, so when you say how close, were they at the other pump when he was pumping gas? Like, was he close enough to serve him a burger at McDonald's? Like, why are you using quotes from someone that you can't name, but you can kind of like say they're close? Because you're trying to get people to read your article and click on it. Like, it does way more damage than it does good for other people. But of course, Mark Ogden's article is getting talked about on all the social media sites and in the news. And Mark Ogden knows that source was probably someone who walked by Harry Maguire at a restaurant when he says close. Like, I mean, I can't ask for there to be responsible journalism, but if you're Manchester United, Manchester United and you give Mark Ogden all this access, like, to damage the team while they're having a good run and they're on a break, and to like put an article out like that, it's like, and then Harry Maguire's under enough stress. He's under enough stress. Like, he didn't say this shit. We don't know who said it, but everybody's taking it like, it, even if it was his mother who said it, that's what she's supposed to say. That's his mom's. So what's this source? Don't put that shit in there. It does not help Manchester United. And if you're a Manchester United reporter and you root for the team, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Was that the article where they were talking about De Gea and him communicating and stuff?
Yes.
Was it that one?
Yeah.
And about how Lissandro
Diaz
talks to him in Spanish or something. And
Right.
it's like, I'm pretty sure Maguire's, and I'm pretty sure De Gea's been here long enough to understand English instructions right now.
Right.
He's
Like-
lived here for like 10 years or something crazy.
Yeah. His English is better than mine. I've seen him in interviews. Like, what are you writing, Ogden?
I think it's a pretty lazy article in the sense that wasn't there some sort of an altercation between De Gea and Maguire in the team tunnel, where at the Old Trafford tunnel, Maguire, being the captain, was standing on the away team's side of the tunnel, and De Gea pretty much like very angrily told him, "What the hell are you doing, man? Like that, dude. This is Old Trafford, right? Like we line up on this side." So
Is this when he was playing Leicester after he just joined us or something?
No. This is probably this season because the video came out a few weeks ago. So,
Well, the only two chances he would have had a chance for that was against Brentford and Brighton Hove, because Maguire hasn't started. So
yeah, probably one of those two games. So
there's been no lining up.
So I'm guessing Ogden just picked up on that. Oh, there's something going on there. Let me write this up. But it's down to sources. So
Yeah,
how do
it's
we know who's?
Go ahead.
How do we know like how reliable, how credible this is?
Exactly.
You can just put it down to sources whether there is anything going on.
Yeah, sources say I'm 5'11". Sources close to me. What sources? You shouldn't even be able to write sources close to someone if it's not true. This is like, come on, journalism, do your job. I know it's too much to ask. Did you guys see any other like Nations League games, or you want to talk about the U.S. losing to Japan 1-0?
Well,
Hey, Japan are a good team.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so we could talk about England's World Cup group because America's in there and Iran's in there, and like even today I watched the game on Fox. So they had Lexi Lawless, Clint Dempsey, and I forgot the name of the other guy. I actually know the other guy, and they were talking about like after these results that England has had, that like that group is looking like America could win the group. So they're saying, these American pundits are saying they expect America to, they sound like they'd be disappointed if they didn't, And it's like, listen, I always thought, and England, if in England, they're like, this is a walkthrough group, but this is a tougher group than period. To see a look on Lee's face about it, but this group, if England wins the group, it'll be like a bunch of 1-0 wins. You know what I mean? And that means that they're all fine margin wins, meaning it's not, we had to be super careful and walk through a glass shop of broken glass with cotton wool on through the whole shop in order not to get cut. Like it's there's some difficulties in this group, but I forgot. Maybe I just wanted to rant about. But what do you guys think about this group England is in and the US is in, and the US losing to Japan? They play Saudi Arabia tomorrow, so they set the team up that they could get a win off tomorrow, so that they can go to the World Cup with a win. But you can't sleep on Japan.
Yeah, I think it's disrespectful if anyone does, if they think that the US should be just walking over Japan. Like, Japan have got a bunch of players who all play in top leagues. They got players who play in Serie A. They got players who play here. They got players who play in the Bundesliga. Like they got good players. So yeah, it's a little bit disrespectful. I mean, the team the US put out was strong. Obviously, you had the two Leeds guys, Adams and Aronson, in there. Gio Reyna, McKennie. So there's a strong team. Dest as well. I mean, I don't know why Pulisic wasn't playing. Maybe no managers trust him right now.
I think he got injured or something.
He got injured. Yeah.
All right, that would explain it. I was about to say 'cause he wasn't even on the bench, but
yeah, just ask Neil. He'll know why.
Probably
Neil's
busy
on
with some
Pulisic
book
watch.
promotions.
But yeah, I mean, 2-0, I think that's a little bit of a disappointing result for them. But I mean, that's a friendly. There isn't even a Nations League equivalent.
I think it was one. It was 1-0 or
so
2-0.
Two, yeah.
2-2. Yeah.
So yeah, one with the goals as well. 24th and 88. So yeah, they compounded it late on with the second one.
Right.
But I mean, just looking stats wise, it was pretty dominant for Japan. 16 shots for Japan, 8 on target. US had 4 and 0 on target. So it sounds like they never even looked like scoring.
They pressed them. They pressed them. They kept them in the half. They wouldn't let them out. And Berhalter never said, "Hey, let's kick the ball long." Like, listen, Berhalter, even Manchester United, when we're pressed, we had to learn this. We're like, this team was pressing you, bro. They was not letting you out the half. Just kick it long one time. Like just switch it up a little bit. It's simple. It's route one, but just do it. And Japan ain't letting you out.
That's just basics as well. Like I've been taught that on coaching courses. They're like, well, if you're being pressed, you've got 3 options. You can go through, which is what teams that are playing out from the back are trying to do. You can go around, which is you play to one side, then you try and switch it, or you can go over. So it's over, through, or around. And if through isn't working and is giving the opposition chances, you need to try and pick one of the other two. And mix it up and educate your players to the point where they can recognize, oh, this is a problem. The players make that decision rather than the manager, and give them a bit more freedom to be decision makers on the field. But yeah, I mean, that's not great from the USA. I expect that they'll walk over Saudi Arabia though, because Saudi Arabia aren't as strong as Japan. So that should be a fairly comfortable game. I still think USA will probably only win it maybe like 2-0 or something as well. But I mean, we'll see. I saw a little bit from the Wales-Poland game. Wales didn't look great. Bale doesn't look that sharp. LAFC haven't been playing him. It sounds like there's a little bit of tension there. The Welsh manager was saying like we're going to have to talk to LAFC about his minutes, because I think he's just been coming off the bench a bunch. Which is interesting because I think he played the whole 90 for Wales, and it was apparently the first whole 90 he's played from start to finish since September last year.
Oh shit!
Which is a bit nuts when you're trying to go into a World Cup, and he's gone to LAFC to try and build up his match fitness. So it'd be interesting to see between now and November whether or not he gets the games he needs. But Wales just kept him on the field because they were desperately trying to see if they could turn up with a goal, and he came close towards the end, but. Yeah, wasn't anything doing for him. So, yeah, Wales, they're the sort of team though where even if they're having these sort of games, like losing 1-0 to Poland would suggest that England could beat them. But when Wales play England, Wales raise their game. It's a local derby. They got a bunch of players who probably could play for England but weren't good enough or weren't deemed good enough. So they'll raise their game as well. And it'll be a scrap. I mean, in competitive games, England tend to come out on top against them, but you can't ever rule it out, especially with some of the players Wales have who can, if they show up, win a game. I mean, you saw Wales at the Euros, they played really well. The last couple of Euros, they played really well.
Yeah, they beat us in the Euros, right? In England in the Euros?
No, we won or drew with them. Vardy, I remember Vardy scoring.
Didn't they knock us out of the Euros recently? Like a few Euros ago?
Oh. No, we got knocked out in the same Euros when they got.
Oh, we got knocked out by Iceland. It was Iceland.
Yeah, we did play Wales in that tournament though, but I'm pretty sure we beat them. I think Vardy scored. Okay. But yeah, they're always tricky though, so that'll be interesting. Iran, I'm not really sure what's going on there. I'm more aware of their political situation right now rather than anything football-wise. I think Carlos Queiroz is still the manager, isn't he?
I'm not sure. I got to check, but I heard.
Let me have.
I've been talking.
I think he's been.
Iranians and their confidence.
Well, they've often had a strong team. I remember watching games of them in previous World Cups. Like there was one where they played Argentina, and they were holding them. That's like peak Messi as well, and Messi had to turn up with a goal to scrape a 1-0 victory against them. So yeah, they won't be pushovers. Carlos Queiroz is still the manager as well, so he's been there a while now. Let me have a look how long he's been there for. Oh no, he was there from 2011 to 2019. He fucked off, went and managed Colombia for a year, Egypt for a year, and now he's back with Iran. So he's just getting around. But I mean, he knows that that national setup really well, obviously from his 8 years there before. So he knows what he's doing with them. He knows the players. So yeah, it's a kind of game where like none of our opponents are really world-class opposition for England, but they're all tricky. They're all teams who on their day can be a banana skin that you can slip on.
I mean, it's the World Cup, right? Like, unless you're facing North Korea, which happened.
Or Panama in the Russia tournament. Panama were terrible.
Yeah.
Or, it's rare you get a real
Saudi Arabia,
boy.
like in '98, I think.
Oh, when Germany absolutely destroyed them. And that was Japan, Korea, 2002.
That was 2002, yeah.
When like Klose scored like 4 or 5 goals past them, I think, on his own.
Right. Yeah. So unless you face that one team every tournament, you are like it's gonna be a tough game. Yeah. So, I mean, falling back on the whole friendly thing, the first game of this World Cup, you can't treat that as any less as a game than versus Iran. You got to treat it with the same seriousness as you would do like a knockout game.
Well, England have shown in previous tournaments if you start badly, it can fuck you up because it's hard to then pull it back. You're chasing as soon as you do that. Like the game when we had the result against the USA in South Africa. We made hard work of that group because the first game was so bad. I remember the 0-0 draw with Algeria in that group as well, when the fans were booing and Rooney was yelling in the camera about the fans not supporting the team and stuff. And it just there was a negative cycle from the off after that Rob Green mistake. Yeah. So a good start's always big.
Yeah, because if you lose the 3 points, the next game has so much pressure, the other team has an extra man because you can't afford to make the mistake. And it's like, you don't want to play against 12 men, the pressure, the guy in the P uniform on the other side that you just added to them by fucking up in the first leg. So yeah, you gotta win the first one, especially if it's the so-called, if you didn't lose the easiest game in the group and everybody else is a level up after that, good luck. Got anything, Neil? Thought I cut you off before.
No, I mean I think it's more important to, like, even for USA, right? Like, to get their team combination. I didn't watch the Japan game, and I just saw this interesting quote. I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently Weston McKennie after the game said that they did not watch any tape of Japan before the game, which I found absolutely incredible. Like, how is that even happening in this day and age? But if that is true, it kind of shows like maybe they are, kind of, as you said, like, not really taking these games as seriously as they should before the World Cup. But it's important, like, to get your final formation, your best 14 in place before you head into that tournament. So,
or at least have like the video department like show you like what's important, like what is it called, like department that watches the thing and then brings in the tactics to like say, all right, this is what they do. And this is what they might do to us. The footage
performance analysis.
Because the only issue with teams like Japan, Korea, or any team on a certain level for a long time, they play decent football. They just never have a scorer. And that's what separates them from the teams in Europe. because the teams in Europe will play the same level of football, like technically, but they'll have like that name, or Brazil will have that name, Germany will have that name, the guy, England will have the guy that can put that'll take them over the edge. And it's just like the Premier League. It's like you look at Brighton Hove, their technical level is high, but they don't got no scorer. It's like, so that's why they will get beat by the top six. So, but there's a day if your scorer ain't working that day, they can beat you. So, yeah, you can't take any of these people for granted. You guys want to switch to the Premier League and talk about Tottenham versus Arsenal?
Yeah, big weekend of football.
4:30 a.m. The Premier League is back. The Premier League is back. The Queen is buried. She can't die again. So the games won't be postponed anymore.
Well, the king is 76 years old, so hold your bet.
Shit. Damn it. God save the king so that we don't his death doesn't ruin football.
If he could be considerate, and when he does go, if he could go in the summer when there's no tournament on or no Premier League on, if he could pick a summer where there's no Euros or World Cup,
thank you.
That would be perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, ruin the Nations League. Nobody cares.
Yeah, ruin that final we're not going to be in.
Yeah.
So this is a big one. Arsenal versus Tottenham. Like both teams are just on the up. They are title challengers. They are rivals. Arsenal has lost their biggest test to Man United, and they don't want to lose their second test to a rival. And Tottenham, they haven't lost the game yet. I think they had like 2 draws, but this is one of their rivals. And we got Conte. He's like wants to show the progress of this team, but they're playing at the Emirates. There's a lot of things at stake in this one. It's pretty huge. And what do you guys? Both teams are coming off a win, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Arsenal beat Brentford, and Spurs, I think they won their last game too. It's been so long. So
yeah, they demolished Leicester 6-2.
Yeah. Or 5-2 or 6-2, something like that. Let's see. And they scored all their goals in a row, Spurs did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 6-2, you're right.
Yeah.
I think I stopped watching after 5. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's the one where Leicester started pretty well and gave them some problems and then just collapsed.
Yeah. Showed that they needed Fofana.
I'm worried about this game because I think personally, I think Spurs are going to pinch it. I like what Arsenal have been doing this season, and they've showed a certain mentality when they've been 1-1 against like Fulham and Villa, and then they came out and got the winner for the 2-1 victories in those games. But the United game, I think, was the first real test of their mentality. Like, okay, are this Arsenal team stronger in the big games now? Have they got that mentality to go up against the big sides and do something? And that game said maybe they're not quite ready yet. Maybe they're doing really well at beating everyone else in front of them. And I just think Spurs under Conte just look so much more resilient. And I don't, like I've said before on this podcast, I don't think Spurs have played that well this season. But they make those wins happen, and they've stopped themselves from being beaten by anyone. I would love for Arsenal to win this weekend. I really would. But I've just got this horrible feeling that Spurs will pinch it by a goal, maybe, just through sheer willpower and the fact that they're different under Conte.
What do you think, Neil?
This
has ramifications for you as a London team person too.
One of them is going to drop points, right? So that's a good thing.
Or maybe both.
Dropping points. Yeah, or maybe both. Yeah, at least. Yeah. So, I just have a feeling like this Spurs team, they have that cheat code up front. Put both and Son now getting into good form. It's going to be a good battle, though. There are question marks over both this Conte Spurs. So Conte and Spurs under Conte have been playing well, right? But what does that exactly mean? Like, what is the level they're going at? Like, what is that ceiling that they can reach. These are the kind of games that you're going to find that out. Similarly with Arteta's Arsenal, like he's had 3 seasons where he's been 8th, 6th. This is the season of reckoning. He's been backed a lot, and even though he, as Lee said, they've been beating teams they're supposed to beat. That's not a bad thing. I mean, that's probably 70-80% of the games you're going to play. So if they can keep doing that, that's fine too. But sooner or later, the question is going to be asked that in terms of consistency, you got to do something against. You got to get some points off these big teams too, because otherwise you're still like kind of trying to scrape fourth, and how sustainable is that? So yeah, it's I think we don't have a lot of answers about both these teams, and this is probably going to be the game that's going to give us some. So
right,
yeah, just sit back and relax and enjoy. Watch these two.
Those are good points from both of you. So my thing is, and I want to ask you this question, but I'll just make this statement. Like, I feel like Arsenal is slightly more talented than Tottenham, right? But I feel like Tottenham is more streetwise than Arsenal. And when you're that close in talent, the difference is streetwiseness. And that streetwiseness can get you a draw or get you to win. So, so let me ask y'all, who do y'all think is more talented of the team? Arsenal or Tottenham?
I think Arsenal just in pound for pound.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's that much in it because obviously Spurs have got a lot of quality, especially in the forward positions as well. And I think you could combine them and make a really good team. I think Kane's got a level of quality above Jesus. I love Jesus. I think he's a great player, but Kane has got that. He's proven it on a more consistent basis for longer. So yeah, it's an interesting one, but I think Arsenal probably have slightly more quality. But like you say, Spurs under Conte, different team. They like streetwise is a good way of putting it for sure.
Yeah, they'll go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I think Arsenal overall have more quality, but I think Spurs have way more quality in the forward positions, and that probably wins you the game. Although with Jesus now, leading that front line in Arsenal, that's kind of like settled the balance a little bit. But I think overall Spurs are probably a better team, but Arsenal probably the more talented team in terms of like this absolute ceiling of where like all their players or all their main players are like pretty much their careers is just about starting.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a tough one, but I'm gonna take your advice, sit back, relax, and enjoy 4:30 a.m. Saturday morning. Why not? I'm not gonna be a fool. Make my tea the night before, put it in the thermos, come downstairs, open it up. It's gonna be at the right temperature, turn on the game, boom, and enjoy it from my thermos like I'm drinking a tall boy. Man United versus Man City, Sunday, 6 a.m. game in LA. Who y'all got? Game's not being played in LA, but that's where I'm going to be watching it from, in front of my TV, just for people watching and listening.
Man City, that's all I got to say.
Wow, Jesus, you didn't even think about it, Lee. You sure you don't want to think about it a little bit?
I've seen Haaland this season, Man City.
I mean, which one of your team players is ready to take on this week's challenge of who can injure Erling Haaland? do we have anybody? Like
Lisandro
Martins,
he'll give it a good go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at Lisandro if he bit the motherfucker. I was like, if anybody, you know when Cavallo, not Cavallo, when Suarez
Ivanovic.
bit Ivanovic, you're like, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen. But if Lissandro bit Haaland, you're like, you know what? Why hasn't somebody done that before to Haaland? You know what I mean? Like,
make it a good one though. Like,
yeah,
get him out a couple of games at least.
I'll take a chunk out of his calf. You know, do it wherever on his body you reach, just bite him. It's like if you were like in school and a bully was beating you up, if you bit him, none of the girls would be like later on like you shouldn't have bit him. Like they'd be like, this is a bully situation. It makes total sense. Yeah. But
I think your best hope is that you can come out and play like you did against Liverpool. That you need that sort of performance where every single player is given like the maximum. Because if you've got any weak links in that game, City will find them.
Yeah, I'm optimistic, but I find that when I'm optimistic before a big game, we lose. So I'm going to pretend to be pessimistic and see if that tricks the football gods into giving me a pessimistic result, which is usually optimistic. So I'm gonna do that. It's gonna be tough, but we beat like all our players. Most of our players on international break had a good international break. Before the show, I watched Ericsson and Denmark beat France like off the park, like. And I got to give some props to some of the French players like Griezmann. He's not scoring, but he's out there balling. But if you're what is he, a 9? Or is he a 10? If you're a 10 and you don't score, it's like you didn't play or you had a terrible game. But it's almost like he's Busquets playing behind the forwards. It's crazy what he's doing. The slide tackles, the retrieving of the ball and passing it forward. So that's just an aside. But Ericsson balled out, and then I think Casemiro definitely had a goal or an assist in the first game. I got to check and see how Brazil did. You had we don't start Maguire. That's on y'all. But Shaw just as a backup player on the bench just had a good game, and Dalot scored twice. You know, and you know, so for Portugal, and I think he has another game tomorrow, and and Bruno Fernandes scored, and I feel like they're carrying the spirit of what Manchester United was doing before the break into the thing, and then hopefully, I know we're going to be confident. But I know we're facing Man City. So I'm going to calm down and just hope for the best. And because we're on the road, we're at their place. But yeah, I know they got Haaland. So we'll see, man. But it's football. We'll see. What you think, Neil?
I mean, again, like United is unknown quantity right now, right, under Ten Hag. But you do your best.
We won 5 out of our last 6.
Yeah, win this one too. Win this one too. Like, you know, everybody's got to like unite and figure out a solution against this Man City.
This is coming from. This is you. Now you're so shady.
I'm not saying we can help at any point, but
you're
take any help we can get.
Yes, exactly. Look at that. You look at everything from like, how can this assist Chelsea in our challenge?
You know how in the Royal Rumble, like you got 40 of them, and you just want to like avoid all the big guns and make sure everybody eats everybody else, and then
Uh-huh.
you land one good punch and win the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's the angle I'm getting at. But
So, so you're rooting for United.
yeah,
to-
of course, yeah.
Okay.
I'm rooting for United, but I'm also, even though I say all these things about Haaland, every game I'm so excited to watch him, because I just feel like this is somebody who we haven't really, the likes that we haven't seen in English football for a long time. So it's incredibly exciting to watch him come up against. It's almost like a simulation to watch him come up against these Premier League defenses. The physicality that, of course, he can match up to it, but it's still interesting to see how different managers come up with solutions against him, because you can't just go into a game against Man City this season is totally different whether or not Haaland plays in that team or not. So depending on that. So yeah, again, from a United perspective, I don't think things change a lot. I mean, just see how he can work with, because he's done really well having both Bruno and Eriksen play with a DM behind, but now probably that DM is going to be Casemiro. So I feel that's going to be a level up. So I'm interested to see how that works out.
I don't know, because Scott McTominay, the first game for Scotland during this Nations League thing, I heard he had a good game. So we'll see. But this is the game though where everybody who swears that Lisandro Martinez's height will be a problem. Yeah. This is the game where all the corny people who insisted that want their words to come true. This is the game where they're like, as soon as he gets beaten in the air, then we're like, we told you. Even if it's just for 2 games this season, if they're right for 2 games out of the 38, they'll be like, I'm legit. I know. So we have to watch out for that, And I hope this is what Ten Hag brings up.
But he is gonna get beaten there. I'm pretty
but
sure
everybody
about
that.
He's just got to compensate, like in terms of his positioning, make sure he's not in that Hail Mary kind of situation where it's life and death if he doesn't absolutely time a jump.
Right. I mean, which is hard not to be in that position. It's like they'll almost put the ball up in the air more than they put the ball up in the air all last 5 seasons since they put, So why
it's not
why
easy
not
when
go...
you got De Bruyne supplying those bullets as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to like
Cancelo, crazy.
Yeah, they got weapons. But I do like the way Eriksen is playing. It's a different guy. The way Bruno's playing, it's a different guy. So we have weapons too. We have some speed, and they like to play a high line, so we could get Rashford to take advantage of them. Then I think hopefully Marshall's not injured, and so we'll have our whole front line available. But like we have some chances to do some things. So we'll see. But they're gonna have their options. But this is that game where if Martinez gets beats in the air, they'll be like, "We told you." But hey, guys, Haaland beats everybody in the air. Did you see what he did to Dortmund? Did you see what he did to every team this season? He beats them in the air. So it's more than just height, right? And if you say it's Martinez being short and not Haaland being good, you're disrespecting that man. And then one thing Neil said, I want to bring up when you said you're excited to see Haaland. This is how excited people are to see Haaland. So Josh Martin, he's a Man City fan, stand-up comic from LA. He bought a Haaland shirt. So he's walking down the street out here and everybody saw the Man City part of the shirt and was like, ooh. But when they saw the Haaland, it's like, oh, we like him. So people have separated Haaland as an entity from Man City. They hate Man City, but they like Haaland. So I understand what you're saying. Like this guy,
he has the charisma, right?
Shirt.
Like that's what I was saying. Like Premier League, we've had great players in the last 10 years. Like we've had Salah, we've had De Bruyne, Hazard, But I think since Ronaldo left, we haven't had somebody who's super good and also super charismatic. Like he's got the personality of a superstar.
Mhm.
So
And then just that video of him walking through Manchester by himself.
yeah,
That's like, you- what a simple thing. And you're like, yeah, so yeah. All right. So I think we covered it. We can bounce. Any last words from either of y'all? Lee, you want to talk about your game, or Neil, you want to talk about yours? I think Neil's against Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Do you want to go first now?
yeah. I mean, we just had one look at Graham Potter, and apparently they played a behind doors game just for a couple of days after against, interestingly, Brighton at the Amex Stadium.
Hilarious.
And,
I wonder how he hooked that up.
yeah, yeah, just calling in favors. So, and interestingly, apparently he played Trevor Chalobah in midfield, which we haven't seen, and he has done that in the past on this.
That's a
loan
smart
spells.
move.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
I like
Move.
that.
If you're not really convinced about the Zakaria guy, which I am not, but if I think Chalobah in defensive midfield is a good option, and some of the other guys played. Pulisic played. Yeah, Pulisic, he needs to. I just hope that right now Potter just gives him a bunch of games to just get him out of the way, like in terms of the whole, like the thing that came out in his book. I still can't believe it. Like, how you're talking about Harry Maguire, that article that came out saying sources close to Harry Maguire. Pulisic doesn't even give us fans the chance to give him the benefit of doubt that, oh, it's just some sources. Maybe he doesn't. He's actually writing books, putting himself on the record, saying all these things that can, that harm the team. Like he's it's come to a point where I feel like, is he worth the baggage? Like he's behaving like he's Neymar or Mbappe, and he isn't. Like he's not got that level of talent.
I don't think what he said was that bad, but all right.
He was bad. Like he's literally whining about being dropped from, like, as if Tuchel's the first manager in the world to have changed his mind.
I feel like it's just facts. Hey, they told me I was going to play this game. That's why they're not going to play me that game. Then the game came and they changed their mind. And then this is how I felt. But I'm still on board.
No, that's not on board. I'm disappointed and dumbfounded.
He's not supposed to be disappointed.
And also, no, but keep that to yourself. Like imagine if every player comes out and starts doing that. You're not going to have a team after that.
He didn't call to put it in a book. Any names.
To put it in a book mid-season while you're still playing for that club, and potentially you could have still been playing for that manager as well.
This is not a book that got written the last couple of weeks, right? So
yeah, it's highly unprofessional.
And also, Tuchel's choice, Pulisic, Havertz played really well. Scored the winner. Made one of the goals in the semi-final and then scored in the final. So you're whining about a choice that the manager made that was, he was vindicated with it. He won the Champions League, probably going to be the biggest thing that happens in your career. Like, how many wasn't he the first American to win a Champions League? And what else is he going to do? I don't think he's going to do a whole lot more that surpasses that.
Wow.
So, like, it's not like he's going to win the World Cup. So, like, you should actually be thankful to the guy that whatever he did, he made it work. Where Chelsea before Tuchel took over in that mid-season. So, yeah, I just, his father's done that for a while. No, he's got way more talent than Willian, which is why it's so sad that it's got to come to this.
Got to
Willian,
come to what? He's still on the team.
I mean,
Xhaka has done worse for Arsenal, and he hasn't won anything.
Yeah, but Xhaka,
and he was captain when he said it.
I don't remember Xhaka going against Mikel Arteta on record.
What's that?
And again, for me, the point is like, you talk a big game, like there's this famous Drake tweet where he says, bench players talking like they're starters, I hate it. And that's kind of what I'm feeling about Chris Pulisic right now. Like his father's done that. He keeps, after every couple of games, he starts liking all these tweets that's blasting Tuchel. And then you're like, oh, maybe it's the father, maybe
You
the
gotta
son.
ignore parents.
Yeah, so I did that, right?
At
And
least
now
his
it's the
father
kid
doesn't
himself.
manage him. Like,
Yeah, I know.
think
So
it's-
okay,
like,
so I gave him that benefit of doubt. And now it's like he's not making it easy for himself. And I hope Potter gives him a run so that he can get that out of his system and actually let the ball do the talking. Because he doesn't stay. I counted like before the start of this season, he's been injured or unavailable for either due to coronavirus or whatever for 30% of his games while at Chelsea in the 3 years. So it's not like you're always somebody who the manager can call upon.
Right.
And then you're still moaning about game time.
Damn, Neil blaming players for injuries now. All right, that's how.
No, I'm
deep the
not.
hate
I'm
is
not.
going.
I'm just saying that that's a reality, right? So you gotta. You can't be blaming everybody.
I mean, but it's not blaming everybody. It's just about a specific game. That's all.
No,
I was disappointed. What if he said I was happy I didn't get in? I was like, whew, man.
well, ideally, that's why you don't write books at the age of 24.
A lot of pressure that game. I was like, yeah, thanks. Jeez.
And the book is called, by the way, My Story So Far. So you bet your bottom dollar there's another book coming next year.
Yeah, that's facts. It is a story so far.
This guy's a menace, man.
What you got, Lee?
I mean, we got Everton this weekend, and if we lose that, there's big pressure on Hassan Hull.
I feel like every 2 games
somebody's under pressure.
Under pressure.
There is, because
survives. There's 2 more games. It's so funny.
It's because the team's so wildly inconsistent, and if we got aspirations to not be hovering just above that relegation zone, we need to be more consistent. Because the Wolves away game, we never looked like scoring. The Villa away game, we never looked like scoring. We lost those 2 games 1-0. I mean, there was the one chance against Wolves where Shea Adams handballed it in, but we were just poor going forward in that game. We looked like we had no ideas in those games. It's so frustrating to go from the performance we put in against you guys. We gave you a good game. We then went and beat Chelsea, and then we just lose 2 away games where we don't even look like we're going to do anything. So the one thing that gives me a bit of hope this weekend is that our 2 good games came at home. And the 2 shit games came away, and we're at home to Everton. So maybe we can do something here. But I mean, Everton worry me because they've started to become a little bit more solid under Lampard.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the international break maybe fucks that momentum up for them, and gives us a chance to reset at our end instead, maybe, because we need a win here, really. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think we're capable of it, like I say, especially at home. But just a couple of other games that interest me this weekend. There's Leicester Forest is a derby. They don't like each other. They've not played each other in the Premier League for a long time. I mean, they're not each other's main derby. Like Forest's main derby is Derby, but in the absence of them, they're not going to play them in the league for a while. They'll have to make do with Leicester. So that one's going to be interesting.
It is a derby of 2 teams that stink. So it's a derby just based on who stinks the less.
Yeah. So that one could get feisty, I think, on and off the field. And then the other game that interests me is Liverpool Brighton with De Zerbi in his first game for Brighton as the new manager. So it'd be interesting to see, what does he change? What does he keep the same? Can they still be the same Brighton that they were before, where they go and give the big teams a run for their money? Because away to Liverpool, it's not an easy game to start off with.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see what he's about early on.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. Yeah, I'll check that out too. What else is at 7? There's that's when most of the games are played. There's 5 games at 7. The Crystal Palace Chelsea
Fulham
one.
Newcastle will be a tough game. for both teams.
Yeah. Yeah, both those teams are playing. Newcastle has a lot of ties, so they need to win some shit. So that's their thing. But they just got Isak King, and then what's his name is injured again. But at least they got Isak. And that's when the Southampton game is, the Bournemouth Brentford game, Liverpool, Brighton, Chelsea, Crystal Palace. 5 games at that time. All right. Well, all right, guys. I think we covered it all. Thank everybody for listening and watching. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and leave some comments. I haven't got a chance to respond to the last few podcasts, but I'll get on that. And then we got, I guess the fantasy league is back on. So you spoke in the last podcast who was ahead.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about that again. I don't need to mention who's top. Let's hope some other people have some good weekends this weekend. Make
Step
your
up,
transfers, get your teams ready. Triple captain Haaland this weekend. If you see Maguire in the starting lineup, well, no, you won't see the lineups, but no, it'll be good to see Martin knocked off the top spot. Because if he's still top in fantasy football and Spurs win this weekend,
you're right.
He'll definitely be here for the next podcast, I guarantee.
Hilarious. All right, cool. Well, everybody in the fantasy league, get your shit together, handle your business, and not Martin off the top. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate y'all coming through. My name is Ian Edwards. Everybody have a good week, good rest of the week. Take care of each other, love each other, and let's kick it. Talk about some football. 1.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Got it.
Got it.